Hello, these are notes for 10/29/15, the start of proofs. So first we need to outline a couple of our definitions. So a circle, if you recall, is the set of all points equidistant from a given point, which of course is the center. So a circle is named by its center, so that's why this is called circle O. And what that gives us, since equidistant means equal, is that all radii are congruent. So anytime you're given a circle, you know you're going to use this theorem that all radii are congruent. A median is a segment whose endpoints are a vertex and the midpoint of the opposite side. Bink. So let's go through that definition of a median. A segment whose endpoints are a vertex and the midpoint of the other side. And remember, midpoint is the point in the middle. So it's a point in the middle, which tells me that CB is congruent to DB in this case, since AB is a median. An altitude is a perpendicular segment from a vertex to the line, didn't leave you a lot of room here, containing the opposite side. Okay, so I'm just going to use the same picture. AB is an altitude, so those are right angles, because that's what it means to be perpendicular, that you've got right angles. Okay, so those are three biggies. Circles already are congruent, median, two congruent segments, altitude, two right angles. So let's start. Okay, so in a proof, you've got statements, you've got reasons. So you're given certain things. So in this case, I'm given that AD is parallel to BC. Now, sometimes you can split up your givens. Sometimes you can write it on separate lines. I typically have you split them up because each time you want to ask yourself, why am I given the given? Okay, so parallel lines, if AD is parallel to BC, you want to be thinking to yourself, that gives me alternate interior angles. So that is angle DAC is congruent to angle BCA, because if parallel lines, then alternate interior angles congruent. So that's the doubles. A couple of you are having trouble naming angles. Remember, you can't just use the letter A. That has three angles there. You have to be very specific. Use 3 points. So the other pair is angle BAC is congruent to angle DCA. Same reason, I'm not a fan of quotes, so don't put ditto. Okay? If parallel lines, then alternate interior angles congruent. So remember, ultimately we're trying to prove that triangle ADC is congruent to triangle CBA. So that is your last line. We're not sure how yet, but we spent last week talking about two congruent triangles. So I've got two angles here. I can get this side in the middle and do angle side angle. That's one choice. Or I haven't used all my givens yet. And you do want to use all your givens. So I'm going to go ahead and do that one. AD is congruent to BC. And that's given. So that alone gives me angle, angle, side by my givens. If you went ahead and said reflexive, then you've got angle, side, angle. Maybe you only said that there was one pair of parallel angles. Oh my gosh, that's terrible. One pair of angles congruent because of parallel lines. Then you could have side, angle, side. So you've got a couple choices in this proof. Okay, that's why there's so much fun for Mrs. Buck to grade. Okay, let's turn over. Example B. I'm going to zoom in on here a little bit so that you're not too bad. Okay, so AH rather is an altitude. So notice I'm labeling my diagram right away. Because that will help you along. Because a lot of you, when you draw it, then you have to turn around and say it. Oh, okay, angle MHA and angle THA are right angles. Because definition of altitude, that's our new. Then you do want to say that all right angles are congruent. If right, then congruent. Okay, what else do we given? MA is congruent to AT. Given. So then you can take a step back and say, even if I do reflexive here, I don't have, SSA is not a method of triangle congruence, but the whole point of getting a right angle, a leg, and the hypotenuse allows me to use RHL. So, triangle MAH is congruent to triangle TAH because of RHL. So again, what I was referring to earlier, if I split up this reason, then I would use all the lines. The lines are just there as a guideline, so don't get caught up that you have to use every single one, but at the same time, you know, proofs do generally take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines. Okay, lastly, example C. WZ is congruent to ZY. So let's just say that's given. ZX is a median. Keep your handwriting as neat as possible. Okay, so remember, just on the other side, that means X is a midpoint. So when you draw the diagram, then you can jump to the reason. So don't let the words trip you up. Label your diagram and then it sort of clears itself up. That's by definition of median. ZX is congruent to XZ by the reflexive property. There's no way I can get any angles congruent here. I don't have any vertical angles. I don't have a right angle. So that's why I used reflexive property. Now I have triangle WZX congruent to triangle YZX because of side, side, side. So that is start of proofs. You can go ahead and do proofs day 1 homework, and I will see you soon.